can I just say one thing firstly? I love the name Eat Sleep Boxing Repeat.
Welcome back to ESBR Boxing's YouTube channel. Delighted to be joined by Danny. We are reacting to the news that has kind of come to the front that perhaps Derek Chisora's opponent in December may well be a trilogy with bitter rival, former foe, Dillian Whyte. Danny, we're on reacting to this news that I suppose it was David Hay that kind of maybe did he begin the rumor? Does he know something that we don't? Whatever it may be. But yeah, your initial thoughts and reaction to the possibility of Chisora Whyte 3, Whyte Chisora 3, whatever way you want to put it.
Yeah, it came out of the blue, didn't it? We seen a lot of names linked to this Derek Chisora fight in December. Saw potentially Zhilei Zhang was being tipped, then Jarrell Miller, and then out of nowhere, a couple of days ago, David Hay, former foe turned friend, manager of Derek Chisora. Not sure what the relationship is now, but he said that the trilogy with Dillian Whyte is done. It's something that has been speculated on for, when was their second fight? 5 years ago, something like that, 4 or 5 years ago. Crazy where the time goes, but I would love to see the trilogy. The first two fights were epic fights, particularly the first one. The second one, of course, concluding in that brutal knockout from Dillian Whyte. But two very different fighters now, two fighters maybe not as fresh as they were back then. Dillian Whyte coming off a first round knockout of Moses Ataima, but Derek Chisora, for all his attributes, doesn't have that speed of Moses Ataima. I think we would see another long, grueling fight between the two of them. I would again love to see it because it's tipped to be in this Manchester card. Of course, that's where I'm based now, so I would no doubt be at it. Let's wait and see. I mean, this December 13th show has been talked about and speculated upon for feels like a lifetime now. We don't know who Chisora's fighting. We don't know if Ataima's fighting and who he's going to fight. There's talk of Adelaide on the card. He's now got, of course, fighting in Nigeria. So all up in the air. But of the rumoured matchups for Derek Chisora, I think as intriguing as fights with the likes of Zhilei Zhang and Jarrell Miller would be, I think the trilogy with Dillian Whyte would be a level above those in terms of excitement. It would bring a bit of nostalgia back, maybe give British boxing that's actually happening in Britain a bit of a shot in the arm. So fingers crossed, let's wait and see.
Yeah, for sure, mate. It was a great analysis, and I for one, completely agree with what you've said. I think of all the names mentioned for a potential Derek Chisora opponent in December for his 50th fight or whatever it is, this is the one that appeals to me most for a few reasons, and you've kind of gone over it all, so don't want to go over all ground really, but like fact that there is a narrative there, it sells itself. It doesn't need any selling really. Like even though if you look on paper, you're like, oh, but White's won too, so there's no need for a trilogy. As you said, completely different fighters from then. The first fight was razor thin, I think, at the time. I think a lot of people gave it to Chisora. I think I might have been one of those back in the day. I recall maybe edging Chisora. It didn't go his way. White got the decision. Second time around, Chisora up on the cards, definitely this time, but then gets brutally stopped near the end. So yeah, that was a definitive victory for Dillian Whyte. But then, as you mentioned, since then, I mean, Dillian Whyte he's been very inactive, and then the fights we have seen him in, he's looked either underperformed or being kind of clinically knocked out. As you mentioned last time out, Moses Ataima in one round. I'm all for this. I mean, as I say, for Derek Chisora as well, like both, let's be honest, let's put it bluntly, Chisora and Whyte are both shot fighters, but I think Dillian Whyte is way more shot than Derek Chisora, which might sound crazy. But yeah, considering the miles on the clock and the wars that Chisora has been in, I'm all for it, and I would. You know what? I think yeah, part of me doesn't think it is going to happen, and we've maybe discussed that David Hay, whether or not he's just saying that for hype or not remains to be seen. But of the three you mentioned, yeah, the other two would be entertaining. I think this would be the most entertaining just for like blood and guts really kind of thing. And I also think it's the most winnable fight out of them all for Derek Chisora. That's just my opinion. So yeah, that's how I feel about it. If in the coming days, Danny, this does get officially confirmed and we get the trilogy, where's your money at? If you had if I was giving you a tenner to put on somebody, what method of victory and who are you going for?
I think I agree with what you're saying. I think there is more life left in Derek Chisora than Dillian Whyte at this stage. Derek Chisora, I think people were calling for him to retire after that Whyte rematch, which more lives than Lazarus. And the wins against Joe Joyce and Otto Wallen, he was an underdog in both of those fights, pulled it out of the bag both times. You compare Dillian Whyte's recent form to that, and it's chalk and cheese. And since that Dillian Whyte knockout, we've not really seen Chisora put away like that. I don't think he's been stopped since then, apart from the Fury fight, which he lasted, what was it, 10, 11 rounds? How much of that was Fury carrying him? But took several knockdowns off Joseph Parker, got back up, took a lot of punishment from Joe Joyce, was badly hurt, kept going. And Dillian Whyte, as you say, he's boxed a round and a half in competitive fights in what, years since the Fury fight. Apart from that, it was Tete and Christian Hammer, two very low level heavyweights. And yeah, I think I'd favour Chisora. I think the inactivity, the punch resistance, all go against Dillian Whyte here. So yeah, if you're asking me if I had a tenner to put down, I'd probably go Derek Chisora stoppage.
Yeah, I agree, mate. It sounds crazy again that the year is 2025, near the end of 2025, and we're back in Derek Chisora to win a fight against a guy who's been beaten by twice via knockout. Like, fair play to the man. Longevity at its finest. But yeah, I really want to see it, and I go for. I'm completely concurring with what you've said, Danny. I'm in total agreement. Derek Chisora stops Dillian Whyte for me. In a trilogy. So that's where my money's at. If it's just quickly to round off before we do finish, if it's not to be this trilogy, and it's not to be Dillian Whyte in the opposite corner of Derek Chisora in December, who do you want to see, and what do you think's the most likely?
Yeah, I don't think it is going to be Dillian Whyte, unfortunately. I think it'll be Jarrell Miller, and I've got no issue at all with Chisora Miller or Chisora Zhang. I think they're both very entertaining fights. Like you, I don't think either of them are as winnable as the fight against Derek Chisora. I think it'll be Jarrell Miller. I think that's another really entertaining fight. Jarrell Miller only knows one way, but if he comes in what is shape for Jarrell Miller, like he's actually quite a fit heavyweight. He goes for the whole 10, 12 rounds, whatever it'll be. Very unfortunate against Andy Ruiz Jr. A lot of people, majority of people, thought he won that fight. And I think Jarrell Miller might have the best chin in the heavyweight division. Even Daniel Dubois hit him with absolutely everything, and he got stopped on his feet with 15, 20 seconds left. And Chisora can punch. I don't know if he can punch like Daniel Dubois. I don't think he would land with the frequency of Daniel Dubois. I think that's a tough fight for him. Zhilei Zhang, of the names we've mentioned, I think, contrary to what might jump out at you, it's probably the most winnable fight for Derek Chisora. I think the first 3-4 rounds are extremely dangerous. Zhang, by far, the biggest one-punch puncher we've mentioned in this video so far. But after that, he's got little to nothing. Fell apart really quickly against Ajit Kabayel. His output against Joseph Parker was terrible. And Chisora, he's not fit for every minute of the 12 rounds, but he knows how to conserve energy. He's very streetwise in that sense. And he's, been around the top end of the heavyweight division for what feels like a lifetime. And he'll know that once he navigates, if he navigates the early stages of the fight against Zhilei Zhang, he can take over and potentially go on to stop him. But in a roundabout way, I want it to be Whyte. I think the most winnable one is Zhang, and I think it'll be Jarrell Miller.
Very interesting, mate. Very, very interesting. I think you make a good point about Zhang. Like before the Kabayal one, people were maybe marking Zhang as, well, I don't know, top 5, definitely top 10 in the heavyweight division. Some people maybe still do have him in the top 10 just because Kabayal has proved he's one of the best. But like, yeah, you make a good point. It's one of those where if Chisora can just circle around and take no damage for like
they can do
4 or
that,
5
Derek.
rounds.
Joyce, he can do that.
Well, and it's his fight then, ultimately at the end, which is again crazy to think. I do think the most difficult one, as you said, is Jarrell Miller, simply because of what you mentioned. Like the chin he showed against Dubois, arguably beat Andy Ruiz. Yeah, he's been question marks over his performance, whether they've been enhanced or not in the past. Oh, we know they have, but even without that, big lump, it's hard to shift. And he bang a little bit himself, yeah, but like I think he would be. I don't think Derek Chisora could stop Jarrell Miller, whereas I feel he could stop Zhang or Whyte. So yeah, interesting. Who knows what will happen on December 13th for Derek Chisora's next fight, whether or not it will be Dillian Whyte, whether it will be Jarrell Miller, which seems to be perhaps the most likely outcome, or whether it will be Zhilei Zhang or somebody else. Danny, really enjoyed dissecting that and kind of having a chat about the rumors we're hearing. So yeah, thanks very much for your time, guys. Thanks for watching. Subscribe to the channel if you're not doing so already. And yeah, speak to you again soon, Danny.
Cheers, mate. Derek's 50th and last one, so let's hope it's a big one.